Alright, so I'm doing another early prospect video podcast style thing for the 2022 NBA draft. I'm going to be doing podcast style stuff for this class until I feel comfortable making those edited style videos like I did for the 2021 cycle. So you probably won't be getting those until, late December at the earliest, but definitely more than likely not even until actually 2022. But I do want to do my early look stuff right now. If you can't tell by the title of this video, we're going to be looking at the recently reclassified up Jalen Duren, who was a part of the 2022 recruiting class and would have been eligible for the 2023 draft. However, he has decided to reclassify to the 2021 recruiting class and reclassify for eligibility in the 2022 NBA draft. Obviously, he just committed to Memphis as well. In my opinion, he's the best big man prospect to commit to Memphis probably ever, because I don't know too much about Memphis's big man history, but I definitely think he's probably the most high profile recruit, definitely for the big man spot, and one of the more high profile recruits in a little while. Actually, no, James Wiseman does count as well. I will say that James Wiseman does count as a high profile recruit. I can't believe that blanked my mind, because he barely played, but he is going to be at Memphis. It's going to be interesting to see what he does there. Now the thing is, despite what you may think based off how he's built, Jalen Duren will be one of the youngest players in the 2022 NBA draft, which is a scary thought to think about, considering the fact that he is probably one of the more physically ready prospects in the draft. He stands at 6'10". They list him at 230 pounds. I think he's closer to 245 pounds. I'll be quite honest with you. He has a 7'5" wingspan. He's a power forward center prospect. He was born on November 18th of 2003, again making him one of the youngest players in the draft. It's a very similar situation to Jonathan Kuminga, Josh Giddey. Trying to think of other names that come to mind. Jaden Springer's name that comes to mind. Aleksej Pokusevski from 2020 draft class as well. Guys that are almost a year younger than some of the top guys. He's a year younger than guys like Chet Holmgren and Jaden Hardy. So that goes to show you how good he is if he's able to be a year younger than those guys and still be toward the top of this class. He was ranked second by ESPN and Rivals. I'm gonna look it up. He's ranked 7th, I know, by ESPN. He was ranked 4th by 24/7 Sports, and I can't remember the Rivals rating off the top of my head. But I think it's definitely not second. They definitely moved him down a bit. Personally, I have him ranked 5th on my way too early big board right now. I definitely think that there's a chance he moves up if he shows improvement in some key areas. There's a chance he might move down if other players start playing well. He maybe doesn't improve on those areas. But I do want to talk about his skill set and stuff like that. The frame strength, that's the biggest thing about him. It's an absolutely absurd frame for somebody that young. When I watched him play for the first time, he was like 15 years old, and I thought he was like 17. That's how physically built he is. 6'10", again, like I mentioned, 6'10", 200, again, I think 245 pounds. That's what I think he's probably closer to than 230, I'll be quite honest. 7 long arms and very good movement skills. He moves very well for a big man. I wouldn't quite say freakish, per se. It's not like he's like a big outlaw. It's not like he's moving out there like Giannis. Then again, nobody's out there moving like Giannis. That's a bad example. But it's not like he has wing-like movement skills. I will say that. But they are well above average for a big man. That's the best way to put it. It's the closest thing to me that isn't a freak athlete, but close enough. Or should I say, the closest thing to a freak athlete that isn't quite a freak athlete. That's what I'd say. That's the best way I could describe it. I could be wrong. He might as well be a freak athlete. Or he very well could be one, I should say. But I do think that his movement skills stand out. His athleticism, he's a good vertical leaper. I think he has a good second jump as well. And, it takes more, though, than just being a great athlete to be a top-level prospect. And he has skills. He's a very good post scorer. I would say he's probably one of the, if not the best post scorer in the draft. I know it's not the most valuable skill anymore, especially considering you're playing on the perimeter, you're playing, passing lane, stuff like that. It's all about the versatility now. but I do think it can be valuable for a big man, and he has that skill. And, you know, on top of the athleticism and the movement skills, it makes his post scoring even more dangerous because he has quickness, he has, you know, flexibility, he has a bunch of stuff that like traditional post scorers just don't have. However, he's more than a post scorer as well. I think he has very good passing potential. There were tons of flashes of him as a passer that were very encouraging. It's why he probably gets the Bam Adebayo comparison a lot, because not only of the physical tools, but also he does have passing potential and the movement skills, obviously, but the passing potential is a big part of why he gets the Bam Adebayo comp. I wouldn't compare him to Bam Adebayo. Bam Adebayo is a 1 of 1. Jalen Duren's a 1 of 1. Everyone in, you know, basketball is a 1 of 1 to some extent. They may have some similarities, but at the end of the day, everyone is 1 to 1. He's a very good rebounder on both ends of the floor. He's somebody that's great shot blocker. That's the best way I could describe it. Great shot blocker. You know, very good defensive discipline as well. He doesn't seem to foul too much, I would say. I think that's something that's very good. I think he has good defensive versatility. I want to see it improve. But I definitely think the tools are there to be a very versatile defender. You know, overall, when you look at his game, and you look at, okay, he can score from the post, he can catch lobs, he can play in the pick and roll as a roll man because of his athleticism, you know, outlier athleticism to a certain extent, you know, defensive versatility potential, very good discipline on that end of the floor, rebounds well, block shots, and has passing potential. I think it's a very intriguing skill set to have, especially for somebody, again, that's only 17 years old. Now, he does have some areas he needs to improve on. Obviously, he's not a perfect prospect, I would say. No one is. If he was a perfect prospect, he would be number 1, not number 5 on my board. Perimeter shooting, he's not a great perimeter shooter. There are flashes, I would say. There are signs of improvement. It's not drastic improvement, but, you know, you don't expect someone to make massive jumps like that in the shooting area. I think his form is fine. I just think he needs to get more reps in, become more comfortable, things like that. That's something that will take time, but if he keeps on improving on it, I definitely think it can improve to the point where it becomes a strength. There definitely, again, are flashes of him, you know, shooting, but they aren't consistent, per se. Being locked in, this is something that I see a lot with big man prospects. I don't think it's just something that it's exclusive to him. It's something that all of them struggle with. When you're as physically gifted as him at the big man spot, there aren't going to be many players that are on your level. So it is hard to go through a whole game without coasting a little bit, I would say. I think it's something he will improve on at the higher levels as he faces competition that matches up with him better. Aggressiveness as well. You know, part of me thinks that his lack of aggressiveness as a scorer comes from the fact that he isn't really great as a scorer, I would say, outside of maybe the post. And he needs to improve in the other areas, but I do think he will need to be more aggressive, especially considering how good this class is. Like, you look at this class, like, okay, it is a bunch of versatile guys that have scoring potential. I think Jalen Duren does have scoring potential. I am encouraged somewhat by the perimeter stuff. I definitely think those things need to grow, but, you know, just being more aggressive, you know, I think that given his frame, there were times I thought he should dominate more, just given how physically imposing he is. But, you know, I definitely think his weaknesses are things that are fixable or are very much, I've seen some flashes of that I'm encouraged enough by. So that's my thought with his areas of improvement. Overall, I think his archetype is a versatile defense pick. I definitely think defense will be the big thing with him because, you know, his offensive strengths, you know, aren't the main focal points of offenses, like post scoring, but defense, I think his defense stands out enough to me. Again, to have him as high as he is, that's how good I think he can be on defense. So there's that. Again, I mentioned though he is a fifth. Projected, you know, pre-college, not pre-college, pre-NBA role. I see like major impact at the high major level at Memphis, obviously. You know, I definitely think that he's going to have a really good year. There aren't going to be many players, even in college, that can match up with that kind of physicality. You know, when you think about it, like high school, no one could stop him as far as physicality goes. No one really matched up. There was maybe 1 or 2 players, and those other players are top level prospects in this draft or the next class. You look at him in college, there aren't going to be many big men that match up with him well, physically. He's too quick, for some. He's going to be too strong. It's a mismatch physically wise. Again, standout skills, the shot blocking, the post scoring, defensive versatility, and physicality. His swing factors for me, perimeter shooting. If he can show signs for perimeter shooting, he's going to move up, in my opinion. His aggressiveness, improving, on already encouraging passing flashes. Like, don't let the passing flashes and the growth we potentially see there kind of stagnate. Kind of show improvement there as well. I think if he improves on those, he can do that. I think the pathway for him to become an impact player at the NBA level is very much something I find very achievable. Like, there isn't a lot of projecting. Like, okay, if he can find success at the NBA level, he's going to find it as a defense first guy, in my opinion. Versatility on both ends of the floor is something I think is very much achievable. But defense, the versatility on defense specifically, is the most achievable thing because of the physical tools, because of his sort of intelligence on the defensive end of the floor, defensive discipline, the shot blocking, everything he has that way. Like, I think it's going to be someone, I think, okay, he could potentially be a very impactful defender early on, and I think that will be his calling card early on. I think the offensive stuff will slowly grow with it. I think if he improves on it, we could be looking back on him like, okay, this is somebody that can end up being, one of the best players from this draft. I think that you also have to look at the context of he is one of the youngest players in the draft. When you're looking at him at Memphis, you have to remind yourself that, yeah, he should still technically be in high school right now. It's something I thought with Jaden Springer as well. Jonathan Kuminga, and Josh Giddey. These are guys that are playing to at least an average, or at least showing signs of potential at a level that they're not even supposed to be at right now, because right now they should still be in high school. And I think if Jalen Duren has a really good year at Memphis, you have to remind yourself, yeah, he should still be in high school right now. I definitely think he has all the potential in the world to be a good player. I do, because he's so young and anything's possible. I think at the very least he's going to make it to the NBA. It's just impossible for me to believe that a player with his physical tools and the stuff that he showed already, and the fact that he was able to perform at Memphis on a really good schedule, playing really good teams. Like, the fact that, he was able to do that showed me that he wasn't just a big out-muscle kind of guy. Yeah, he is. He can out-muscle. He can out-physical players. Of course you can at 6'10", 245 in high school. But at the same time, you also look at him and you're like, okay, there's things here that I can look at and say he can be more than just someone that's bigger, faster, stronger than everyone else. The passing flashes, the rebounding, the shot blocking, his defensive discipline. I think that there are perimeter flashes as well. They're few and far between, but I definitely think that there is something there. I think that he's intriguing to me because he's one that, again, I think the defensive potential is so great that you kind of are encouraged enough to let the offensive things grow. That's just my opinion, obviously. But yeah, that's all I really had to say about him. All I really had to say, I didn't talk about for almost 14 minutes about him. I like Jalen Duren. He's one of my favorite prospects in this draft. He's somebody, if he was in next year's class, as far as recruiting goes, and then for 2023 NBA draft, probably top 2, top 3. I don't think anyone's overtaking Victor Wembanyama, so that isn't obviously something in the cards, but I think top 5 in this class with other great it's a very big, heavy draft. There's a lot of bigs in this draft, but I think, again, I really think it just speaks to how high I am on his defense, that I have him over some other bigs that are a bit more versatile on offense. But I definitely think that, he has a chance to be a very special player. And again, because of the physical tools, because of what he's shown already, I just find it hard to believe he won't at least make it to the NBA. And I think he has a chance to be a very special player in the NBA one day. But again, only time will tell. That's the end of this one. Like, subscribe if you haven't already. If you like these podcast style videos, go check out another one on the channel. I have a lot of fun making these, kind of just rambling and talking, I would say. You will be getting more edited videos throughout the end of the summer as well, and definitely during the school year. But yeah, that's all I had to say. Have a good day.